Welcome to TIG KIng's YouTube channel. There are so many ways to do pipe root pass. Of them, I will introduce how to do root pass for Schedule 10 stainless steel pipe with no joint gap. Today's episode is a step-by-step tutorial from preparation, fit up, purging, machine setup, and to know-hows. If you want to watch only welding skills, you can jump to the following time. First, what is the pipe schedule? Schedule is the thickness of the pipe wall. The higher schedule number is, the thicker the pipe wall is. There are 4-inch pipes. The outside diameter is all the same, whether it is a Schedule 10, Schedule 40, or Schedule 80. But the pipe wall is thicker in the order of 80, 40, 10. Why no joint gap? As you see in the video clip, giving a gap between pipes is common except for stainless steel tubing. However, many stainless steel pipe welders do Schedule 10 pipe without a gap. To be honest, I don't know if giving no gap is against the code standard or not. Maybe it is kind of cheating. But it is true many shops and TIG welders do it. And if you are a beginner and want to be a TIG pipe welder, I recommend you to practice root pass without a gap for Schedule 10 pipes. Why? If you are a beginner, your both hands don't work as you want. One hand with a torch, the other hand with a feeding wire. I am 100% sure either hand doesn't work. Keep doing this, it gets you disappointed and throws the torch with a big yelling. I might be wrong, but I think it is better to concentrate on one hand with the torch. No gap helps you to practice and learn how to wiggle the cup because you don't have to feed the filler consistently. Wiggling the torch is an important skill for pipe root pass as well as capping. Looking and judging the weld pull status is very important in root pass. Therefore, no gap can give you more space to focus on the weld pull. Learn root pass without a gap and do it with a gap later. That's my suggestion. Pipe preparation. Good pipe prep is the most important procedure in pipe welding. If the prep is no good, even experienced welders feel difficult to weld it. However, many learners underestimate this. They just want to weld it. If you ignore the importance of preparation, eventually it is a waste of time and material. Beginner's mistake: they bevel too much. If you want to learn how to bevel pipes exactly with a hand grinder, please look at my previous episode. The link is added in the description. If you don't have time to look at my episode, here is my simple way. First, get the pipe wall thickness using a tape measure or a pipe dimension chart. Second, multiply the thickness by 3/4. Third, mark on the pipe from the end and do not go over when you bevel it. Beveling by grinder. Use a stone disc for rough grinding and finish with a sand disc. A knife edge is better for stainless pipe welding. Deburr inside and outside using a flapping wheel or a file. Clean with isopropyl alcohol. Fit up pipes. I told you there are many ways to do a root pass. Fit up is the same. I will just show you a couple of ways. If you have better ways, please share them with other people. I like to use an angle because it is easy to align, and I don't have to use a gap wire. Fitting up pipes in upright position is common too. but you have to use a gap wire and make sure pipes are aligned. As you may know already, I prefer using an angle. There is a very important key point when you do the fit up. You have to stagger the pipe weld seam. Don't forget it. Nobody mentions this, but this is very important. Never align weld seams. Fittings also have weld seam. You gotta be careful. This rule applies when you fabricate a pressure tank shell too. Weld seams should be staggered always. Purging. There is one important thing you have to keep in mind for stainless steel welding. It is purging. Purging protects the welded stainless steel area. Moreover, if the purging is good, doing pipe root pass is way easier. When you weld the stainless steel, it should be protected from the oxygen in the air, or it becomes an expensive scrap. When you weld the stainless steel pipes, argon comes out of the torch as a shielding gas, so the stainless steel is protected. How about the inside pipe? If you don't do any action, the inside of the pipe gets all oxidized. We call it sugaring. You have to get the oxygen out of the pipe and fill it up with argon gas. Purging is recommended when you do the fit up as well as welding. Seal the outside and make vent holes. As you see, there is nothing at the inlet gas line tip. I don't recommend this because gas comes out straight and it can be turbulent inside the pipe. The purging effect is low. Adding a copper muffler is the best from my experience. If you don't want to spend even $1, you can use a rag. It is way better than nothing. Seal the inlet using a high-density foam. You don't have to buy expensive purging kits. Foam is the best. Set the purging gas pressure around 30 to 40 CFM. You don't have to be too picky about the purging and shielding pressure. Setting the purge pressure at 20, 40, 50, 60 doesn't matter really. Mostly I set the purging full blast and make enough vent holes. Shielding gas pressure is the same. 20, 30, 40 doesn't matter. If the weld color is too dark, set it around 10 CFM higher. If it still comes out dark, mostly it is your weld skill problem. It doesn't matter about the cup size either. Mostly I use number 10 for root pass and capping regardless of pipe sizes. But I recommend you to use number 8 cup especially for the root pass. It might be easier to wiggle the torch than number 10 or number 12 cup. I'm sorry to keep saying the same thing. How much you stick out the tungsten is not a big issue either. Some new welders at our shop ask me about the tungsten stick out. It is one of the difficult questions to answer. If you cannot see the tungsten tip while welding, you have to stick out a little bit longer. If you cannot see, you cannot weld it. If the tip keeps touching the weld pool, you have to shorten the tip. That's it. If you insist, I would say stick out tungsten length 5/16 for number 8 cup and 3/8 for number 10 cup. If you feel it is a little bit short, higher the torch angle. If you feel it is a little bit long, lower the torch angle. Please don't be too sensitive about this issue. Two pipes are joined together without a gap, so the filler wire may not be required. I fused for the first tack and turned the pipe to the opposite side for another tack. Tried to fuse again, but it was opened. I have to add a filler. I use 1/16 filler. Fuse it or add 1/16 filler for the tack weld. How to wiggle the torch. Wiggle the torch to climb up along the joint. Don't turn your wrist to the left or right. Make a habit of going up straight without turning your wrist to the side. Keep the torch parallel to the joint. Loosen your arm. If you strengthen your arm, you can't go up. Loosening your arm, wiggle the wrist. Then the tungsten tip will move left and right, going up along the joint. Just pay attention to get the tungsten tip stay inside of the bevel edges. If you strengthen your arm too much, your torch stays in that spot. It is getting harder and harder. A big open and drop happens or your torch will slip. Don't worry too much. Slipping a torch happens to everyone. There are no tricks, know-hows, and shortcuts. Doing every day until you can do it. That's the only way. Start at 9 o'clock. Go up until 12 by wiggling the torch cup. Then, turn the 5/4 to have 12 o'clock come down at 9 o'clock. Repeat this until you make one turn. There is another way. This is what I do mostly at the shop. Start at 9 o'clock and stop at 12. Go to the other side. Start from 3 o'clock and stop at just after 12 o'clock. Flip the 5 over and finish the other half. I use this one a lot at the shop because a pipe spool can be flipped over for welding even if it is big and has many turns. Set welding current. I've not done this with my machine at home. I guess the ideal welding current will be between 80 and 95. I will start at 80 and see if it is good or not. If it is too low, I will raise the current by 5 amp. If it is too hot, I will lower it by 5 amp. Don't rely on the number. You have to know if it is hot or cold by looking at the puddle. Answering the proper weld current is one of the most difficult questions for me. I don't know if the weld current is proper, hot, or cold until I start an arc and weld it. If the welded current is proper, you don't have to feed the wire. However, if the current is too high or your going up speed is slow, the puddle will be getting thin. In this case, you have to feed the filler to make the puddle cool down, or the puddle will drop, making a big opening. So, you have to be ready all the time to feed the wire. If the puddle is too hot, you have two choices to avoid the big puddle drop. Feeding more wire and going up faster. If you are not confident with this way, you have to stop and lower the current. Tie in. Let me show you how to tie in between the welds. I finished from 9 to 12 and turned the pipe for another weld. Never start a new weld from the previous stop. You have to start at least half inch down to have a good tie-in. This is very important. You have to keep that in mind. Not only the root pass, but also you have to do the same for the capping and the final. This is what I prepared today for you guys. I will make an episode about capping and final pass later. As I told you, there are so many ways to do stainless pipe weld, and this is just one of them. I will show you all the skills I have. There will be lots of challenges for you. It may take a longer time to learn TIG pipe weld than you expected. I've done mostly stainless steel welding over 20 years, but I still learn something new every day. I understand it is not easy, but you can do it if you keep doing it. Please don't give up. That's the only skill you need. Don't give up, just do it. Thanks for watching and see you next week.